Okay, I just had a conversation with the Registrar of Supreme Court, and I will talk more about that later. The year now is 2020, October 2020. So by the time I got to Supreme Court, the evidence surfaced that all 6 doctors had operated outside of their scope. However, the medical records that they have put together without any consultation from me as the patient or consent, but the evidence on the surface articulates information as if I am mentally retarded, but I've been cloned while somebody else, gains all the benefit. Hence is the reason why I haven't been able to go forward. And people have just stolen off me in the process and then leave the scene, and then somebody else comes in the scene and they seem to take turns. So that's how it's been for me. Because they had used the act on me, that's why I made a claim. But what I had done was, by this time in 2018 at Supreme Court, I had gone through so much on my own. I'm battling with public scrutiny. I'm battling with, they've used my family to like babysit me, or my family doesn't know the full picture, but they too are under some kind of control where there's interference as far as family, my family culture and everything else that's usually normal before all this took place. Now, in the beginning, from when I first lodged a claim, which was on 4th of July 2016, at that time I decided that I was going to sue them $200,000 each. So in the beginning, in the first early stages of my case, the Crimes Act and the fraud mental health assessment I was able to prove. During the early period of my case, I had decided I wanted to deal with my whole medical records as a whole. So I had submitted all that kind of evidence to ask the judge what I was wanting to deal with in court as far as my medical records as a whole. So I'm basically suing the Ministry of Health, not only my damaged reputation, the loss of my livelihood and what they had to do with it, but I'm also suing them for my profile. The information that they've done in my profile is fraud, and it kind of confirms that I've been subject to a conspiracy. I had decided that I was now going to take this opportunity and deal with my whole medical records because it is my property. Then I decided to do an appeal. Leading up, my case went through the whole process, and then as time went on and as the case was being prolonged, went through the whole process, it just looked really bad. The evidence became more and more and more clear as time went on that I was definitely subject to an illegal project where I was being micromanaged. So I can actually confirm now I've been subject to human trafficking by force. I already knew since 2006, I already knew since the breaches that what was going to happen to me was going to be really, really serious. So I needed evidence. So now I can prove in the court of law that I've been subject to human trafficking by force, or by the use of the technologies and by the use of human trafficking of other humans. So by December 2018, which was the last judgment at the Supreme Court, I'd made a decision I was going to sue them even more money now, because I had sufficient evidence of a very serious case, of indictable case, where I've been at really high risk. By the time I got to Supreme Court, I had decided that I was going to sue the Ministry of Health and City Med. I'd submitted an interlocutory application. On that interlocutory application were exhibits. In fact, I can confirm every time I have made submission to court, I have submitted exhibits to back up why my application, or to back up the laws that supports my application. The Ministry of Health, I decided to sue them for $5 million. For the City Med, I had decided to sue $1 million. But to be honest, they should be sued for way more. If I had my way, I would be suing them for like 20 million, maybe more. But there's a lot more into my whole medical records that I wanted to deal with in court. They had put in my medical records so many fraudulent information that it is really, really serious, and no one will ever know about the information except me, because it's all about me. I'm also suing the Ministry of Health because I know that I was poisoned. I know without a shadow of doubt that I was poisoned. And then I was lied to by my doctor. She said that I had asthma, and I would like to challenge my doctors, or the doctors, several things in my medical records. I was told I had asthma. Nothing in my medical records before 2010 indicates that I was an asthmatic. Nothing. Keeping in mind that what I had at this time, it went on for like 3 months, 3 to 4 months. I'm not the type of person you can actually say, yeah, she's an asthmatic. The scientific project they've done to me, they cloned me, like literally cloned me, and they were studying my emotions. They were catching me out when I'm upset. They were recording me when I got angry. What has actually happened is, over the years, people have cloned me. There's definitely defamation in there. Then there's the deleting of my medical records. In 2010, I know that some of it has been deleted. I've actually already gone through the process to ask for some of my records, and I haven't been satisfied with what I was told or not given, but I believe that they are being deleted. My medical records in relation to the car accident that was linked to the cyberbullying and the protected disclosure in 2010. Even the doctor that did the assessment before the act was actually enforced on me, he had actually submitted, because there was a CD that I had submitted as an exhibit, and I had actually asked him to transcribe the meeting of that appointment where my mother was there, and then a doctor only known to him that was there, or a nurse. And he described the recording, but he had put a different date. So just to verify the actual true date, all that was in the appeal. In the 4th of February 2016. So he actually submitted his transcript, but he had a different date on it. When they used that on me, and then they took my liberty away completely. For those who don't know what the Mental Health Act is for, it's like asylum. I know every country is different, but in my country, it is actually asylum for where people who are mentally impaired, or people who have committed murder because they're mentally insane, or something, you know, really serious criminal stuff like that. So they're locked up away from the public, or because they cannot go to prison, they are locked up. It's a special facility for people who are high risk criminals, or who could be a danger to the public or a danger to themselves. So at that point of time, I was not suicidal. However, now that I've mentioned that, there is medical records in my medical records back in, on or about, just a rough estimate, I think my son was only 3 years old, my youngest son, and I had tried to commit suicide because of the family violence situation that I was in at that time. I was admitted to the hospital. I had submitted all that evidence to court in exhibits for the judge to have a view of how serious my case was. Now that was the first time that I actually officially tried to commit suicide, and I was a very young mother at that time. Yeah, so I tried to commit suicide, and then I had to stay in there overnight. So I was there overnight, but I had never, from that day right up to today, have I tried to commit suicide. But the reason why I wanted to sue the Ministry of Health was because they had put me in a real high-risk situation with what I've gone through, where they locked me, took my liberty away, and I felt that was the most dangerous time for me, was that point of time. And I can honestly say that they put me in high risk because nobody would believe me. And I knew that the micromanaging and the setup, I felt like it was a suicidal pact, and they were forcing me to trying to get me to a point so I would kill myself. I know this sounds quite harsh, but that is what I have been subject to historically. And then you just hear all the negative people, negative, and if it's not this, if they're not putting you down or saying negative things, they're sabotaging everything I do, or anything good that happens. It's like they just take it away. So that is why I'm suing the Ministry of Health overall. It's an overall case to do with my medical records, but the use of the Mental Health Act really did put me at a high risk set of circumstance, just not being able for people to believe me, and I think they need to be made liable so it doesn't happen to anyone else again. I am the victim, and I have always been the victim from the beginning, but I haven't played the victim.